Jim Hoops ENT presents super amazing film explanations.
Welcome to Super Amazing Film Explanations. In this second episode, we will be covering Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. Of the 6 George Lucas Star Wars films, this is without a doubt the best one, and that is because of the 6 films, it is the one where he is the least involved. The film opens with Han and Luke out on patrol looking for life on Hoth. Luke informs Han that he has found no readings of life forms.
Well, I finished my circle. I don't pick up any life readings.
And then they agree that it is time to go back to base. But Luke decides to stay out just a little bit longer on his own to go observe a meteor crash.
See you shortly. There's a meteorite that hit the ground near here. I want to check it out. It won't take long.
Ironically, Luke, who just determined that there were no life forms around, is then attacked by a wampa that is alive. Han arrives back at base and informs the general that he is leaving the Rebel Alliance.
General, I gotta leave. I can't stay anymore.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, there's a price on my head. If I don't pay off Jabba the Hutt, I'm a dead man.
As is typical irrational punk behavior, Han Solo is fearless in going to war against the government of an entire galaxy, but trembles in fear to a space slug. As we soon see, luckily, Luke was not eaten by the wampa. He is just fastened to the ceiling, where the wampa can be seen eating another creature. For those of you keeping score, that is 2 confirmed life forms, to Luke's claiming that there are 0 life forms. On a side note, this scene makes me think there is 0 understanding of biology at 20th Century Fox. Star Wars: A New Hope introduces us to Tatooine, which has no plants or water, but is teeming with life. Now The Empire Strikes Back has a frozen planet with only frozen water, no plants, and animals that happen to grow quite large. These are 2 inherently impossible scenarios. I wouldn't be surprised if the ignorant people at this studio go on to make another movie decades later that claims that men carry a specific gene that can be passed on to their offspring. With the only gender-specific gene being the Y chromosome, which women do not have, it would be even crazier if this film had women with this genetic mutation.
Actually, they discovered that males are the ones who carry the mutant gene and pass it on, so it's his fault.
But I digress. Luke is in a pretty bad predicament. If only he had some sort of force that gives him power, some sort of energy field created by all living things that surrounded, penetrated, and held the galaxy together.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
It would be nice to have such a force. Long story short, he eventually frees himself. He has a vision with the dead guy.
Ben?
You will go to the Dagobah system.
Dagobah system.
There you will learn from Yoda, the Jedi Master who instructed me.
Han saves him,
Come on, give me a sign.
and a snowspeeder going outrageously fast finds them. Like seriously, look at how fast this guy is going over mountains. How far did Luke and Han get in one day on Tauntauns?
Commander Skywalker, do you copy? This is Rogue 2.
Good morning. Nice of you guys to drop by.
Echo Base, this is Rogue 2. I found them.
However, there is no time for relaxation in the world of the Rebel Alliance. The Empire soon arrives. The Rebels, in their infinite wisdom, send out troops to shoot at the impervious armor of the Empire's AT-ATs, but the Rebels have another trick up their sleeve. They entangle the legs of these walkers with tow cables. Keyword, tow cable, as in tow cables are generally not that long. But the AT-ATs have the real design flaw, if you ask me. And also, I don't care if you asked. This is my video and I'll say what I want. Luke is able to throw a grenade into the center of one of these AT-ATs, then the head pops off. Also, look at those strong bones of Luke. He drops like 40 feet and lands like it is nothing. Now the rebels do end up losing this little battle. And at the end, Luke decides to head to Dagobah to visit Obi-Wan's teacher, Qui-Gon Jinn. Oops. Nope. He's going to visit Yoda. How did Obi-Wan not keep track of who his master was? Leia, Han, and the droids also escape. After a run-in with some Imperial ships and chilling out inside of a giant creature on an asteroid, yep, they are in a creature that has creatures inside of it, all while inside of an asteroid. When Luke arrives at Dagobah, he encounters a little weirdo with a lot of spunk while on his hunt for Yoda.
My home, slimy. My home this is.
R2, let him have it.
Mine!
R2!
This green mini-monster is quite annoying to Luke.
How far away is Yoda? Will it take us long to get there?
Not far. Yoda, not far. Patience. Soon you will be with him.
But wait for it. Wait for it. The oddity of a creature is Yoda himself.
He's not ready.
Yoda?
What are the odds that on a giant planet, Luke lands within walking distance of the creature person he is trying to find? Yada yada, Luke learns how to Jedi because of Yoda. We then encounter Vader speaking with the Emperor, and the Emperor telling Vader how Luke is Anakin's son.
I have no doubt this boy is the offspring of Anakin Skywalker.
How is that possible?
Vader clearly has limited understanding of how reproduction works, as he finds it impossible that Anakin Skywalker can have a child. Oh wait, maybe he just doesn't know how the baby was born. This is the 5th film in the series after all, and in the 3rd film we learned that Anakin and Vader are the same person. Wait a minute. That means we always knew that Luke and Leia were siblings.
Luke.
It's a girl.
Wait a minute. That means Obi-Wan always knew.
My wife and I will take the girl. We've always talked of adopting a baby girl. She will be loved with us.
And what of the boy?
To Tatooine. Do his family send him?
I will take the child and watch over him.
Wait a minute. That means Luke and Leia kissed, and they were the only ones that didn't know. But Vader realizes Luke would be a wonderful asset to have on his side, so he becomes determined to get Luke to join them.
If he could be turned, he would become a powerful ally.
Yes. He would be a great asset.
So what does he do? He gathers bounty hunters to help capture the Millennium Falcon, which doesn't even have Luke on it.
There will be a substantial reward for the one who finds the Millennium Falcon. You are free to use any methods necessary, but I want them alive. No disintegrations.
But Han comes up with a plan to seek refuge on Bespin through his old friend Lando Calrissian. Through this first encounter with Lando, we can see that he is black. Is that relevant? No. But for those of you keeping score, based on the original release date of the films in the Star Wars saga, up to this point we have seen 3 individuals that are green, and only 1 individual that is black. For the sake of context, not that it is ever justified, but the film came out in 1980. It was a time when society demanded more roles for black actors, but society wasn't ready to cheer for black actors.
I'm not a racist. And none of those things have ever come out of my mouth.
Hashtag T'Challa 2018. But the film is clearly not trying to make any racially progressive stances, as Leia fulfills racial prejudices of black people being untrustworthy.
I don't trust Lando.
Han also doesn't trust Lando, but at least Han is pretending not to be racist by mentioning that he does have a black friend.
Well, I don't trust him either.
He is my friend.
And it kind of falls on the filmmakers on this one, but they made Lando quite the untrustworthy fellow. And once again, Han shoots first. But Vader, showing true honor, he may be evil, but he has honor, invites Han and Leia to have some hors d'oeuvres.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Luke, though, using his Jedi powers, senses that his friends are in danger and abandons his training.
It is you and your abilities the Emperor wants. That is why your friends are made to suffer.
That's why I have to go.
However, we learn that all hope is not lost, as there is another Jedi.
That boy is our last hope.
No. There is another.
I just hope it isn't some moron that can't even keep stolen plans safe. But anyway, Han gets frozen in carbonite so he can be taken to Jabba the Hutt. Now, I'm no space slug, but I find it kind of counterproductive to freeze somebody in carbonite if they owe you money. How's Jabba going to get the money back?
He's alive. And in perfect hibernation.
Anyway, Luke arrives on Bespin and runs into Darth Vader. They get into quite a rather prolonged lightsaber fight. It is not nearly as cool as when Obi-Wan and Vader fought on the Death Star, remember? But this is still a pretty cool fight.
Now, release your anger. Only your hatred can destroy me.
The fight ultimately ends with Vader cutting off Luke's hand and revealing to Luke that he is his father.
I am your father.
This scene shows some major character flaws in Luke. We already know that he will blindly follow an old man onto a smuggler's ship, but to blindly accept the parentage of a guy that is also trying to kill you and has just cut off your arm is just plain bonkers. Like, come on, kid, quit being so gullible. Do some research, figure things out. Don't get so emotional and try to kill yourself over it.
It is the only way.
Oh crap! He just tried to kill himself over this. You hear about heroes dying for the greater good, but you never really hear about them dying over bad news. But luckily for Luke, he doesn't plummet to his death, and Lando, like Han from the previous film, plays hero at the last minute.
What do you think you're doing?
Getting out of here.
And you're all alone. Had to be a mistake.
Do you think that after what you did to Han, the world...
I had no choice. What are you doing? Trust him! Trust him! Oh.
He does this by getting Leia, Chewie, and the droids onto the Falcon and off of Bespin. Luke, using his Jedi powers, telepathically communicates with Leia and gets him saved also. So in closing, after spending the film being a villain, Lando becomes a hero. So there you have it, kiddos. Even when trying to be progressive, Hollywood still finds a way to be a bit racist.